Welcome to the show, Foster.
Thanks, man.
So, this is new for me too.
Okay.
So, let's start off with where did you grow up? You don't have to give me the city, but where did you grow up?
In Illinois.
In Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
How close to
Yeah.
Chicago?
Right inside of it.
Oh, right inside of Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay. And brothers or sisters?
I have two brothers and a sister. Yeah.
Are you the oldest, youngest?
I'm the middle child.
Middle child syndrome.
Middle child syndrome. Yes, for sure.
All right. So you're growing up inside Chicago. I've been in Chicago once. It's a cool city.
Yeah. It's a real cool
Yeah.
city. It's
Yep.
a dangerous city, but it's a cool city.
Yeah, it depends on where you live, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so trauma wise, how old were you when you first experienced trauma?
I'd say the the hard hitting trauma was about 5 years old. Um, I was being molested by an aunt and a stepdad, and physically, verbally, emotionally abused at the same time.
When did the
Um,
stepdad enter your life?
he entered my life about four. He was mom's third husband at that time.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was about four, I think, when he entered my life.
So was your father the first husband or second husband?
My biological father was the second husband, and my brother and my older brother and older sister, their father was the first
Okay.
husband.
That was my next question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And your younger brother, is that the same father or is that from
Same father as me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so two were from the first marriage and two were from the
Two
second
fathers.
marriage.
Correct.
So you were four when this guy entered. Was that he already verbally abusive?
Oh, he was abusive from the get go. I mean, even when they were dating, he was physically abusive. Um, I think the man hated me. I've always felt that way. Um, he just, I mean, he walked in the house every day from work and he'd slap me in the back of the head as I was sitting there and tell me he hated me. It was just, he was just a pig.
What do you think he hated?
I think he hated the fact that my mom and I were close. We had a really really close relationship. Um, I wouldn't say was her favorite, but I think we had a different bond than the other kids did. Um, I always felt like I had to protect her, even at an early age, young age. Um, I always felt like I had to watch over her. So I mean, honestly, that's the only thing I can figure out why he hated me so much. Unless it was just the fact that I wasn't his. Um, but I don't know. That's the only thing the conclusion I can come to.
Was he physically abusive to your mom too?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you had to
really.
see at a young age?
Oh yeah, really, really bad, really bad. Yeah.
Both physically and mentally?
Oh yeah, yeah. He was everything. Anything you can imagine that was horrible, he was.
And at five, was your aunt your mom's sister or your dad's sister or
It
stepdad?
was my stepdad's sister. She would I don't know how deep you want me to go, but
Yeah.
she would make me orally satisfy her at 5 years old, and he never physically uh, sexually touched me. He would just pleasure himself in the corner and then shoot it onto me while I was doing that. And if I didn't make her climax, then she was slapping me, beating me, and telling me what a worthless piece of crap I was. And and I'd be screaming, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. I just was going by what she told me, you know. and instructed me to do. So, but he never physically put his hands on me in a sexual manner. He just pleasured himself on the outside of it. So
How do you think they were you the first one they targeted, or do you think there's been multiple?
I would, I mean, I don't know that. I would say there's always been multiple because that guy now just got locked up for 28 years for pursuing a child on Facebook. I mean, just recently, this is like within the last year. So I would say there was probably more than me in the beginning, and I would say there was definitely more in afterwards.
How long did that last for?
About 4 years, um, and then he beat my mom real bad, and we left.
She left him.
She left him. Yeah, we went into hiding.
So at 5 years old, how do they get you to do something like that?
They blew marijuana in my face at the beginning, and then had me smoking on the pipe after that. Learning how to smoke from the pipe.
Like
Um,
smoking bowls?
yeah, smoking bowls. Yeah, yeah,
At
yeah,
5 years old, I can't even imagine. I didn't smoke weed till I was 13. I
yeah,
can't imagine being 5 and your brain is so underdeveloped at the time and frying it up for 4 years.
yeah. It's still in you're still in your learning processing stage, and I mean, yeah, yeah. I always say, thank God I didn't get fried, but I'm surprised I didn't. I mean, I know guys who did a lot of drugs a lot less time than I ever did, and are baked, you know. But
Do you still smoke weed?
no, no, I don't do anything. I smoke cigarettes,
Yeah,
but I
me too.
don't. But I don't smoke anything else. I don't do anything else.
Yeah, me too.
So I take prescribed medication, but you know,
Yeah. Yeah, I had to quit some of my prescribed medication personally.
yeah, yeah.
uh, so you're 5 years old to 9 years old. And that's happening how frequently?
Well, mom worked second shift, and whenever they could get a handle on, a hold of me at night, it happened. I wouldn't say it was an everyday occurrence, but it was probably 2, 3 times a week.
Did any of your siblings know what was going on?
Not that I'm aware of. Um, my mom didn't even know what was going on because she was working, you know. And I got the if you say anything, I'll hurt your mother, speech, and uh, and I believed him. I mean, he heard us all the time, so why would I not believe him? You know,
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense then.
yeah.
How much older are your brothers and your brother and sister?
My older brother is, I think he's 10 years older than me, and my sister's 5 years older than me. My little brother was 3 years younger than me. He got killed in the war.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
So I can see how maybe they weren't around 5 and 10 years older in order
Right.
to protect you from what was happening.
Well, and they had their own dad. So, and they visited us, on sometimes on the weekends, not every weekend, but sometimes on the weekends. So they weren't there living with us to see what was going on, and a pedophile or an abuser can change his ways really quick for the right audience. You know what I mean? They know how to play the game. So, we were a perfect family on Sunday, and then freaking Monday through Saturday, it was hell. So,
What else was happening with him besides the abuse?
what do you mean as far as what else was he doing to me?
Like,
Or,
yeah, what was he doing to the family? Like, how would he be abusive?
uh, oh God, I was an avid bedwetter, and he, I mean, I can tell you one time he put me in the laundry room for 2 days straight with no food, no water, had to stand there, would check on me all throughout the night to make sure I was still standing in the same spot because I had put the my wet sheets in the dryer instead of the washer. And my sister and my or not my stepsister, but my sister and my brother were staying there that weekend, and they were sneaking me food in the basement, and he just tortured me. I mean, he had the family dog. He trained the family dog to attack me on command. It was he he was just he was terrible. I mean, he was terrible. He beat me a lot. He beat me all the time. And he didn't. I mean, my cartilage in my nose is detached because he kicked me in the face one day when I was down on the ground. He just kicking me and kicking me and kicking me, kicked me in the face and dislodged all my nose, my cartilage from my nose, and it was just never ending. You know. Now, mom knew the abuse was going on, but I think mom was so scared for her own life that she didn't intervene, which as a parent, I don't understand that because if somebody was hurting my kid, I'd be on them, like white on rice. But that's the only thing I can come to is I know that she was afraid of him, completely afraid of him, and I mean we all were. So,
When did the bedwetting start?
oh, young age, all the way up till I was 14. I had night terrors up until I started taking my medicine. We talked about last time I was on the show. I had nightmares from 8 years old all the way up till a year ago. Every single night, I wake up and so and then he would terrorize me and beat me for bedwetting. And when the truth of the matter is everything that he was doing to me was causing that.
I
You
was
know,
just gonna say that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They didn't put two and two together. They had me surgically messed with down there. They opened my urethra up. They had me in the hospital trying to fix me. They had me, it was doing all this stuff. And the truth of the matter was this guy messed me up. So,
Yeah, the
but
bedwetting definitely correlates with the abuse, both
right,
physically and mentally.
right,
Whether he was hitting you or sexually abusive, because even though he wasn't sexually abusive physically, he was still bringing you into the room and giving permission for his sister to do that.
right, right. And his
Do you?
sister was like she was like a teenager. So I'm assuming that he probably messed with her, you know. I don't know. I
I
don't
was
know.
I was just going to ask how old she was when that started.
Yeah, she was like 15, 16 when all that happened.
Hey,
Huh?
how old?
Well, probably 30s. I mean, you know, I don't know if he was that old, but I mean, I was 5 or 6. So yeah, he had to be in his 30s, late 20s, 30, early 30s.
Now, do you have memories from when you were 5?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, vivid memories of since I was 5, from when I was 5. I can remember all of it. The earliest memory I have is my mom said I was like 9 months old and I was sitting in a high chair and my real dad wanted my food and my mom wouldn't give it to him and he tore my plate and flung it across the wall. And remember them the velvet pictures they used to have of the dogs playing pool? It
Yeah.
flung all over it slung all over that picture. And she said I was 9, 10 months old when that happened. I can remember a lot of stuff from, 2 minute stuff from when I was young. I didn't block any of it out. I'm sure there's some incidences, but I don't know of any.
So your biological dad, how long did he stick around for?
He was only until I was 3 or 4. Mom made him leave. He was a piece of junk. Um, and he was physically and verbally abusive to her. Uh, she lost he caused her to have an abortion, or not an abortion, but a miscarriage.
Marriage.
And yeah, threw her down some flight of stairs. And that was a baby that was in between me and my little brother. But so, there was violence in the house all the time.
So when your dad leaves and this guy enters the picture, you were saying that your older stepbrother and sister would come over on Sundays. Did you spend any time with your dad with 5 years old?
No, I didn't meet him until I was 13. I got in some trouble, and then they took me to meet him, actually to live with him. It was either that or go to like a St. Charles, like a reform school. So
Okay, so we'll get there. So you're
yeah,
9 years old. You're 9 years old, and your mom decides to go into hiding,
yeah.
like almost battered women's shelter, and they find you a like safe
No,
space.
we went to live with another lady that she's like my second mom. We went to live with her, um, and then the problem was mom worked at the same plant as he did, the same place, But we always went on the run. We not on the run. I guess I shouldn't say hiding, like in terms like you would think of in hiding. To me, I felt like we were hiding. As a kid, I felt like we were hiding from him. Um, but we just went to stay with somebody else, and then they got divorced, and I didn't see him again.
Oh, you haven't. That was my next question. Was you haven't seen him since you were like 9 or 10?
No, when I lived down south, I moved down south when I got older, and when I came home, I went straight to his door, and the man I called dad, mom's fifth husband, called me up and he said, "Hey Foster, where are you at?" And I said, "I'm at such and such's doorstep." And he said, "Please leave," you know, and I did, but I had every intention of doing something really bad that day. Yeah,
So that was her fifth husband. It sounds like your mom kind of Tarzan relationships.
yeah. She couldn't be alone. She went. I mean, after she left, the
This
one
guy.
guy, this guy, it was a week later, and another guy was coming and spending and staying with us. She uh, she just couldn't be alone, and and so that was husband number four, and
And husband
that's
number three for your life.
yeah for my life, husband number three, but in total, husband number four.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
How long did anything happen with him? Was he
Oh
physically?
yeah, he was physically and sexually abusive.
So another one.
Another one. Yeah, that's I I've been sexually abused so many times in my life, all the way up until I was 16, that I felt like I had a tattoo on my forehead saying "molest me," because it happened. And this man immediately, 2 weeks into it, started molesting me, and he was worse. This man actually violated me, where the other one didn't touch me, and and yeah, he was bad. He was bad.
How long was he in your life for husband number four?
About 5 years. No, let's see. I'd have been 9, 10, 11. No, about 3 years. 3 years. Because stepdad number five, or five, mom's husband number five came in when I was 12. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But the other one, he was an alcoholic and very, very perverted. Um,
Was he also having you smoke weed too?
no, but I was already doing that. My my older brother was living with us at that time, and he was smoking, and I'd steal from his stash. So I was still getting high. I mean, even at that age, I was getting high because it kept. I knew that when this man started hurting me, that was the thing I had to turn to keep, to be able to keep going.
Kind of like your
So
coping mechanism.
right, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Would you smoke in your room?
No, I'd smoke outside. No, I didn't smoke in the house. Mom would have known it. You know. But
So with this guy, um, was he physically abusive to your mom as well?
yes, yep, yep, yeah. The matter of fact, the last time that Mom and I went to church on a Wednesday night, we came home and he was sitting at the table with a bottle of vodka and Rod Stewart, Maggie May playing. I can't listen to that song for nothing, but it was playing, and he grabbed a hold of mine and just started pounding on her. And the next thing I know, he had a knife to my throat and he was threatening to kill me. And Mom broke away and went to the neighbor's house. And when the she got to the neighbor's house, called the police. When the cops came in, he was still had a knife to my throat and was threatening to kill me. When the cops finally broke free, I don't know how they got him free, how they got me free, but all I remember is I ran out the front door and started running down the street. I was in my underwear, I just started running. The cops chasing me, trying to get me to stop, and finally, he got a hold of me and he said, "You're safe now. It's okay." And I screamed, "Tell him I didn't tell. Tell him I didn't tell," because I thought for sure, he's going to hurt. He's going to kill us. And the cop didn't understand what I was saying, or it didn't click with him. But he was. Mom knew how to pick him. Let's just say that.
Now, do you feel like your mom was targeted, being that she had small kids that he could take advantage of?
I never thought about that. Um, I don't really know. I mean, he didn't see. The thing is they never touched my brother. They never touched my sister or my other brother. It was always me. And even the abuse didn't happen to my younger brother.
That's
It
good.
happened to me. No, it's awesome. I don't mean that. I don't mean that like
No,
I'm mad
no,
at
I'm
him. But
saying, I'm saying
yeah,
because I know how protective you were of your younger brother.
right. But it was just strange that they always targeted me, you know. And yeah, I don't know if he targeted mom because of us boys, or he didn't work. He was a lazy piece of crap. He just took advantage of her. So if that's what he did, he just did it for 3 squares a day, But he sure did cause a lot of pain.
Yeah,
So
it sounds like it. And so that was going on for 3 years, and you were smoking weed already. When did you
yeah,
graduate from smoking weed?
I started doing coke about the same time when I was 11 or 12. My brother would have parties and stuff, and his buddies would give me dope. They'd be like, "Here, this is funny," watching me. I was the guinea pig, I guess. The little
Yeah.
brother. But and then when I met my real dad at 13. He was a meth cook, and at 14, he shot me up with meth the first time, and that's when I fell in love. You know, I
Now,
just
was your dad ever physically abusive?
my dad would never put his hands on me. He was verbally abusive. He would
Okay.
stand over when I was asleep. He'd think I was asleep, and he'd be all messed up, and he'd stand over my bed and tell me how worthless I was and useless, and say vile things about my mom. And you know, um, but he never laid a hand on me. I think at that time in my life, JD, I think if he would have touched me, I'd have killed him. One way or the other, I would have killed him because I had enough. By that time, I'd had enough.
Yeah, so
You
we
know,
skipped over husband number five, who you referred to as your dad.
yeah,
So he came into your life when you were 12?
yeah. He came into my life when I was 12. He uh he came around 2 weeks after the other guy was gone. Um, but he didn't move in. They didn't get together. They dated for 3 or 4 years. Um, well, it'd have been about 3 years. And then, he's a recovering alcoholic, had 38 years sobriety. Um, and he worked as a drug and alcohol counselor for the union. So when guys got in trouble with their alcoholism, he'd help them get their jobs back and get into treatment. So, and he was a good guy. I mean, but by the time he got to me, it was too late. I was a mess, and he tried to help me. I mean, over and over again. He put me in rehab the first time when I was 13, tried to get me straight, and he just.
What was it like being in rehab at 13 with a bunch of adults, I'm assuming?
I was mainly there with teenagers, older teenagers, because they had a youth facility that I was in. But it was still weird. I mean, I was definitely the young one of the bunch, you know, and and they kind of treated me like their little brother, basically, you know. But I did the same thing. I was smoking cigarettes when we got cigarette breaks. I was doing everything that they did. I was just younger, so and I didn't really comprehend anything that was being told to me. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think I think 13 is a little young to go into rehab. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't help kids, but it they were telling me all this stuff and I didn't have a clue what they meant, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of I had a girl on the show recently on my other show.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how she went to rehab at 13 and how it never really stuck because of being so young and underdeveloped in the head that you're not comprehending the things that you're
Right.
hearing about.
Right. I mean, for me it was just like a getaway. You know what I mean? I did 90 days the first time, and it was like a 90-day getaway. I didn't have to deal with crap. I didn't have to listen to parents. I had to do what these people told me, but I'm used to doing that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so, and they treated me good. There was none of the crap. And they tried to get through to me, but I was still in that don't tell mode. You know what I mean? Um, I didn't tell anybody about anything until I was an adult, older in life, because, and I don't want any female listener or viewer to think that I'm minimizing anything that they went through. But for a man to tell another man that he's been sexually violated by a man is really, really hard. It's really, really hard because a man looks at you differently. And I don't, and like I said, I'm not minimizing a woman's trauma by any means. I don't mean that. But
No,
my
right.
counselors were men, and for me to say, "Hey, this guy stuck his thing in me," you just don't do that, you know. And
You're how old are you? 52?
54,
54 now. So that's right. I met you when you were 51.
yeah,
That was 3 years ago. So you're 54. So this abuse is happening in the 70s and early 80s.
when nobody talks about it,
Yeah. And mental
right?
health wasn't an issue. And well, it's an
Mm-mm.
issue that wasn't talked about.
Right,
And, I've had 200 episodes on the other show. And I would say out of 200, maybe 50 were men because it's hard for them to open up about their history with drugs, let
yeah,
alone abuse.
right, yeah.
So mental health for men is still a really touchy subject. And you're the first person that I've talked to that's been willing to just like open up the floodgates of what was going on.
Well,
Um,
it's because I feel like if you don't, then there's other men that are never going to get healed. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
it's it it's the more I talk about it and the more I can laugh about it, the easier it gets for me to speak about it.
The
Um,
less stranglehold it has on you.
right, and yeah, and it doesn't hurt as bad. Now, after we get done with this, I'll have an emotional where I got to take a nap. You know what I mean? Because it's hard to speak it, and then it also takes you back to it. But I mean, we got to share what happened to us because that's the only thing. We're only going to help each other.
Yeah.
The doctors can only do so much. the people who've been there and went through it are the ones that are going to help the people who need it, the help. Because and I'm a medicated person. I take behavioral medicine, but the truth of the matter is none of that medicine helps me like somebody sharing their story and us relating to each other. And I know how that person feels and that they've been there too.
Yeah.
That brings healing. When somebody shares a story for me on your show, and I watch every episode, and when I do, and every one of them is some similarity to my life, and it helps me in some way, and that's my goal. That's my hope, and then sharing my pain and sharing the embarrassment of it is that somebody else can say, "Hey, I've been there too, man, and I need help."
Yeah, I
So
could see that you relating to the girl Christine that was on my other show, because she's the one that talked about rehab at 13
yeah.
and going out of state. Did you have to leave Illinois to go to a rehab facility for teenagers?
Nope. I was right here. I was 2 hours away from Chicago.
Okay. Now, whose idea was it for you to go to rehab? The stepdad?
Well, it was what what happened was is we had a half day of school, and I was supposed to go to the mall and hang out with friends. Well, instead I went to a house party, and it was like January. It was like 30 below zero, but cold. And I got all drunk and I passed out in a rose bush outside. And the lady from the next apartment complex thought I was dead. She called the police thinking I was dead. So when they came and got me from the cop shop, they immediately took me because my father-in-law or my stepdad knew exactly where to go. You know, they took me straight from there, straight to rehab, and it was both of their ideas. Yeah,
Figuring it was time for you. And whose idea was it for you to go to reform school?
that was what I got into some trouble. I was in my outpatient process of rehab, and I got into some trouble. I got into a fight with a bunch of guys, and then me and my stepdad got into it, and they were going to send me to reform school. Well, instead, they shipped me off to my real dad's. So I didn't have to. I mean, I don't know which one would have been worse. I think reform school probably would have been better,
Yeah.
but you know,
And was it your idea to go to your dad's?
no. I got into that trouble. I walked into the house one night. They said go to bed, whatever. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning. All my stuff was packed, and they put me in the car, drove me 5 hours to where he lives, and dropped me off. And that was all that was said. Mom hugged me, and that was it. That was it. So no, it wasn't my idea to go to him.
Did he already know that you had been smoking weed? And did you start drinking at this point because you were at that house?
I'd already been drinking. I've been drinking for a long time, just with my brother's friends and stuff like that. But
Like
yeah,
the
I
coke
mean,
you
the
were
first,
11.
yeah, the first conversation me and my real dad had was we were sitting at the picnic table. Mom had just pulled out the driveway. He's sitting at the picnic table with a cooler next to him, and he goes, "So, you do drugs, you smoke, you drink?" And I said, "I just got out of rehab." And he goes, "That's not what I asked you." And I said, "Do you do drugs? Do you smoke? You drink?" And I said, "Well, I guess I do." You know, he handed me a beer, gave me a pack of cigarettes, and within 2 hours, we were doing lines of cocaine. And I was 13 years old. And he said, "You're going to be a criminal. You'll always be a criminal because I was a criminal. Your grandpa was a criminal. Our whole family's criminals." He said, "Just be a smart one." That was my life lesson from him.
Some sage advice for a 13-year-old.
Yeah, yeah. It's not something I'd give my son, I tell you that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, how many kids do you have?
I have two. I have two. I have a daughter who's 33 or 35 and a son who's 33.
Okay.
Yep.
And how's your relationship with them?
My son and I don't speak. My daughter and I have a very, very close relationship. The the issue with my son is my ex-wife. Um, I raised my son to respect his mother and protect her. So that's what he does. And I got to respect him for that because that's what I taught him,
Yeah.
you know.
So how long did you live with your dad if you moved in when you were 13?
I lived there for two 2 years. Then I ran away. I lived on the streets for a year, and then I came back to live with his ex-wife. I think I was talking to you about that in the last session. Um,
Yeah. Tell me about, because this is something new. So how did you meet? So wait, when you met your dad, was he single or married?
he had just got recently gotten divorced from a woman who was 20 something years younger than him, and they had two children. And I met them obviously, and then when I was living on the street, she got a hold of my little brother and told my little brother to contact me and have me come back and said I could stay with her. And I was 16 at the time, and went to stay with her. Everything was going good until one night I woke up and she was on top of me, and I lost my virginity to my ex stepmother, and
Once
she got
again,
pregnant that first time.
well, yeah. So once again, you're a victim of technically, you were underage,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
then almost like Stockholm syndrome. I feel like if you ended up marrying her.
yeah. My parents told me, my mom and stepdad told me when she got pregnant that God would want me to marry her. So they made me marry her at 17. They signed off so I could marry her, and stayed with her for 23 freaking years. Yeah,
That's a
long
long time.
time. But I didn't want anybody else raising my children. So, because we
Is
had two kids.
I was gonna say your son and daughter both with her,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you and your daughter are close.
Right. Yeah, very close. So,
Did she know what happened?
my daughter,
Yeah.
she knows the truth. My kids know everything about me. I've never been one of them parents who pussyfooted around things. I told them, this is what it is and this is how it's going to be. I mean, my kids used to tell my daughter and my son used to tell their friends drugs are bad. Just ask my dad, you know, because I told them I've done everything. And my daughter and I had the her the molestation conversation about her mom at an older age, but she it all she said it all clicks. She said mom said this, this, and this, and she said it never made sense. And she said now that you're telling me this, she said now I get it, you know. But
Yeah.
my that woman targeted me too, even when I was with my dad. I if Because I remember it now. She'd buy me cigarettes, she'd buy me candy bars, she'd buy me whatever I wanted. She was like grooming me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
then and then the next thing you know, there we are. We're in bed together. And
Cigarettes and candy bars to a teenager.
Oh
that's,
shit.
that's just a funny sight in my mind going to the store and grabbing a couple candy bars and grabbing who's this for? My 15-year-old.
But she'd buy me alcohol. She bought me anything I wanted.
She was
And
definitely blaming you.
and my daughter's the one that said, Dad, she was grooming you. She was grooming you to get to you, you know. And she always told me the first day she saw me that she wanted me. So, but I don't know. I didn't To me it was a place to go that I wasn't on the street. I wasn't robbing houses to eat, wasn't dumpster diving. You know what I mean? It was it was a place that I thought was supposed to be safe.
Were you
And
homeless in Chicago?
yeah, oh yeah. That's not
That's
an easy place to be.
be homeless in.
Yeah, homeless. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was bad.
couch surfing. You were living on the streets.
No, we were living on. We ain't a buddy named Bob. We were living on the streets. Yeah,
You're talking negative degrees in the wintertime being homeless.
negative degrees. You're talking. You're talking. It's terrible. You're talking about life and death every single day.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
when I was out there, I saw a few homeless people. We went to Wrigleyville area,
Hmm.
and we went to Millennial Mile. I think that's what
Hmm.
it's called, right? Millennial Mile.
Hmm.
And there was a homeless guy living right outside of our hotel, and we had left the pizza place because we had to try the deep dish pizza. And we left the pizza place, and we had a like half a pie left over, and we gave it to a homeless guy that was living on the street because we weren't going to eat it and was just going to sit in our hotel room. So we were like, "Here you go, like
Right.
have a good." But we were there in October, and it was already cold.
Yeah.
I can't imagine December, January, the snow and the wind you guys
Freezing cold.
chill that you
Yeah.
guys deal with in Chicago is unbelievable.
Yeah. It's bad. There ain't no doubt about it.
How
But
old was your stepmom to you? Like, how much older was she when she started molesting you?
5 years older.
So your
So
dad,
she was 21 when I got married. 17.
so your dad married had a thing for marrying girls that were way younger,
I don't know. He was a biker. I think he'd married anything. I'm surprised he married anything at all, really.
and
But
was that his second wife or his first wife? No, your
that
mom was.
my mom was his first wife, and that was his second wife.
How much older
Yeah.
was he than your mom?
He was younger than my mom.
Okay,
Yeah, he was younger than my mom. Yeah.
and you were saying he's a biker. Like, was he like in
Yeah.
a bike club?
Yeah, he was in the club. He was a meth cook. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and back then was it considered crank or was it considered meth?
Crank. Crank. Meth is a new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not new now, but it was new then.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was new back in the 90s.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And you were still abusing meth at that point.
I've used meth all the way up until what, 8.5 months ago. So, because 1/8/24 is my clean date.
So your dad was teaching you how to shoot up when you were 14.
Yep.
Um, did this wife also get high?
Nope. She took,
But
well, that's not true. She drank a lot and she took a lot of ephedrine. She took the pills, but she didn't do the meth. She did ephedrine like candy.
she knew you were smoking meth or shooting
She
meth
she she knew I was shooting meth. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
didn't care because as long as you were holding down the job.
I don't know. I don't know what she thought. She did. She was a crazy bitch. Sorry, ladies. I didn't mean to say
You could have used a worse word than bitch. So,
it. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I can't imagine, growing through what you've been through, but I'm glad that you're able to like openly talk about it now because of all the harm it was causing, keeping it a secret for so long, all those memories. How old were you when you first started telling people what happened to you as a kid?
Uh, let's see. You and I have known each other 3 years,
Yep.
so probably maybe 4 years ago. That soon, just about 4 years ago.
Did your
Because I,
first wife know about it?
oh yeah, my first wife knew about it. Yeah. Uh, my wife's, I'm pretty transparent, you know, um, except for my drug use, you know, but, uh, I was pretty open with them about it because usually I'd have to explain why I was waking up screaming in the middle of the night, to be honest with you, because I always had to, because I always did, you know. Um,
Have you been
Wow.
sleeping better now that you've been so open about your past?
At first, no. I was a lot worse because it was bringing up so much stuff. Um, and then I got some mental health help, and now I take medication that blocks the resistors, so I don't have nightmares at night. And I know that people say you're not supposed to take anything, but I need to take something, and I
Yeah.
know that I need to take something.
Yeah, I
You know what
don't
I mean?
blame you for taking something at all.
Yeah.
I take sleep meds. I take mental health meds. I was diagnosed bipolar a couple years ago. So I have an AA sponsor, an NA sponsor, a psychologist or psychiatrist, and a therapist.
There you
You
go.
know.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I totally get it. Do you are you in therapy?
Yes, most definitely. I have a psychiatrist and a therapist.
Yeah, so you're like
Yeah.
me, you're dual
Yep.
diagnosing.
Yep. Yep.
That's
Most
good though,
definitely.
because I has it been helpful for you?
Yeah, it has. Now, the therapist at first, I found myself BSing her. I was just trying. I was doing like I always did, saying enough to get by and get what I needed, and then finally one day I just said, "Listen, I've been lying to you the whole time, just like I did with you. That one show, I've been lying, because lying became like second nature to me, and I knew how to smooth and say the right lingo to get whatever I wanted. And finally, I told her, I said, "Hey, I'm lying to you. We need to start fresh," and we did, and it's been good since then.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
remember that day. It was a Sunday and I was in the studio recording and you messaged me saying, "Hey, I really need to talk. Can we hop on an episode?"
yeah,
And I said, "Of
yeah,
course." And the first thing you did was you broke down and said, "Listen, I've been lying about my sobriety
yeah,
and I'm not clean and I want to talk about it." And we talked about it for like an hour.
yeah, and I
And
appreciate it. That helped me a lot. And I was sitting there and I said, if I don't call him now, I'm never going to call him, and it's going to continue. It's going to keep on. I'm going to keep on BSing people, and that broke it. That broke it from then on. Now I still used after that, but I didn't lie about it. I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of went into laying low. You didn't see me or nothing. I wasn't writing anymore. I wasn't doing anything because I wasn't going to be that hypocrite anymore. You
yeah, I
know?
was worried about you because you did lay low. And I said to
Yeah,
my wife, I said, I messaged Foster, but I haven't heard back. I'm worried about him after that last
yeah,
episode.
yeah.
And, for those that don't know Foster's story from my other show, you've been on what, four times, five times,
4 or
something
5
like
times. Yeah,
that. And the progression of, talking about the previous drug use while you were still using and lying about it, all came to a head. I think it was February.
hmm
It was February of 2022.
yeah,
And when you told me, the truth of, the last 6 months of you talking about it had been under the guise of a lie.
right.
And, like I told you before, I'm not mad at you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That
no,
that it was important for you to hear at that time was I'm more proud of you than I am mad at you.
yeah. It made a
And
difference too. Yeah,
I
it
still
did.
feel the same way. I'm
No,
still
and
proud.
I know you do, and I appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you feel now after letting out more details of what happened in your past?
I'll tell you what. For me, all of it leads to forgiveness. And people think I'm crazy but I've forgiven everybody who's hurt me, and I've forgiven myself for doing the things that I did. Even though when in the early ages, I carried shame for stuff that I didn't even need to be. It wasn't mine to carry. It was theirs. But I forgave them. And when I forgave them, I was able to start getting healed. Now, what people need to realize is forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. And people like, I can't forgive him. I can't forgive him. I did, yeah, I didn't forgive people for them. I forgave people so I could feel for me. I don't want to forgive them, but I did so I could become healing, start to get healing, and I didn't have to wear all that crap on me anymore. And, uh, you know, but I don't forget. I don't forget anything. It just, that's part of it, you know? And I don't think I'd be the man I am today if I forgot, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm, I, you know, I've said it before. I don't think I would love to change the way I grew up, but in the same circumstances or instances, I wouldn't change anything because now I can sit here and I can talk to you about things that happened to me to help others. I can talk about drug addiction. I can talk about abuse. I can talk about anything you want to talk about that's crap, and I can help somebody else. You know,
Yeah, you're
which
talking about 48 years of drug addiction.
right, yeah, and it's made me who I am today. I'm a good man today. You know what I mean? Um, I can look at myself in the mirror today. So,
So that's in the one that stepdad is in jail now for 28 years.
yep, yep. He got busted for messing with a minor. So, and it was his niece that he was messing with. So,
Wait, did you feel relief when you found that out?
yeah, I've never talked to a cop in my life, and intentionally, but, but but when I seen him brought up on charges, I called the sheriff of the county that he was in, and I said, "Listen, this man did this to me, did this to me," and I said, "I don't want to waste your time, but I'm telling you, if you can put him in jail, you need to put him in jail." And he said, "You're not wasting my time." He said, "You just helped my case," and boom, you know,
Good.
and yeah, yeah. So it was, and that'll probably be the last time I talk to a cop intentionally, but but you know, I guess they're not bad. They got to do their jobs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Well,
but
hope.
they did. He helped me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He was real respectful, and he treated me with respect. It was a cool thing. So,
Yeah. When did that happen? How old were you?
well, that would happen when just recently when he got busted. I called that cop and told him what he did. You know, this was just right within the last year.
Wow.
I talked to that cop. I called him.
Did you call him
So
because you wanted to make sure he went away?
I called him to just I wanted to make sure that the cops really knew what he was like,
Like
who he
almost like
really was.
a
That
character with.
right, that this wasn't I mean, I didn't have to go to trial, I didn't have to do
Yeah.
nothing. But I just wanted him to know that if he gets off of this, they're wrong because he's done this in the past.
Yeah,
And
it's not isolated incidents.
yeah, right. Yeah, it wasn't a one-time thing. Yeah. So that's why I did it, you know. Um, people may call that snitching, but I don't care. You know,
No,
when a guy destroys your life like that, for the most part, you know,
I think
it is
it's
what it is.
snitching if like you had a dealer and you told the cops, "Hey, this guy's been dealing me meth for 10 years."
Yeah,
I would
that
consider
was.
that snitching. Uh, but I don't consider what you did at all as snitching because you had to make sure that he didn't hurt somebody else again.
Right, and that's what I thought because all I could imagine was how many other people were there in between me and this little girl. You know, there had to be more because they don't stop.
No.
You know, they keep going, and even a pedophile will tell you they can't stop. It keeps going,
Yep.
and so all I could think of is who's going to be next. So, but I forgive him. I do. I forgive him, and you know, he did a lot of bad stuff, but it's under the bridge now. You know, it's water under the bridge. I can't do nothing about it. All I can do is share my story and try to help others.
Well, I
So
appreciate that. I'm glad you came on. I'm glad that we got to talk more because, like, I knew about the abuse, but we kind of grazed over it because the other show is more about addiction than abuse.
right, Right.
So this is me. I've learned a lot more about you today, and I appreciate you being so open and honest because I know it's not easy to relive. Like you said, you're going to need a nap after this.
Right.
I might need
Right.
one too.
Yeah, but I'll do anything to help you, brother.
I
Um,
appreciate that, Foster.
anytime. Uh, I think you're doing wonderful and great things. So
Thank you.
I envy you.
I
So
like getting stories out there for people to relate to, even if they relate to one thing. I find it important to put out stories so that people can hear themselves talking through somebody else.
right, and that's what happens every time I listen to one of your episodes. So it's
I
amazing.
appreciate the support over the years, bud.
Yeah, always.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Take care.